What was your first pair of audiophile loudspeakers? For me, it was Paradigm's mini monitors. I loved those speakers, and they set me off on a journey that has arguably brought me to where I am today. And over my 15 to 20 years, I have owned or demoed hundreds of pairs of loudspeakers, everything from horns to electrostatics, towers to soundbars. I have been very fortunate to have experienced a lot. But there is one type of loudspeaker that I just keep coming back to, and that is a good old-fashioned two-way bookshelf loudspeaker. So much like the loudspeaker that set me off on my journey, today's review is all about an affordable two-way aimed at the budding enthusiast. So settle in, hit that like button, subscribe if you're not already, because we're reviewing the Fluance XL8S Reference Series bookshelf loudspeaker. The XL8S is part of the brand's newly redesigned Reference Series loudspeakers, which we debuted on this channel. And the Reference Series sits between their now aging Signature Series and their entry-level Elite Series. And it consists of a tower speaker, a matching center, bipolar surrounds, and of course the bookshelf loudspeaker we're reviewing today. The Fluance is a two-way design that utilizes a 1-inch silk dome tweeter mated to a 5¼ woven fiberglass mid-bass driver. Now, it has a reported frequency response of 50 to 20 kilohertz, which puts it in the category of requiring a subwoofer for true full-range playback. The Fluance is a good-looking loudspeaker, especially in its natural walnut finish. But the natural walnut is not a real wood veneer. It is a wrap. But from normal distances, it does the job. Now, it has magnetic grills, which is a very nice touch, especially at this price point, but the magnetic grills cover up the vast majority of the speaker's front baffle, which is finished in a very high-gloss black paint scheme, which is carried over from the towers. I'm a bit torn on whether or not I like this look. I think I would have preferred the walnut to carry all the way over to the front baffle, or at least for the black to be knocked back to matte black to cut down on fingerprints. But for what it is, it does dress up an otherwise visually subdued loudspeaker. We've had these speakers for a while now, originally using them as the surround channels for our Reference Series tower video. But I felt that there was more to the Reference Series story, so after that video wrapped, I asked to hang on to the bookshelves. And in that time, we have demoed this loudspeaker with a wide range of electronics, everything from the Name Unity Atom, Yamaha S1200, Musical Fidelity M5SI, as well as two budget-friendly Sony receivers. Now, source components have also run the gamut, from the ultra high-end in the Auralic Altair G1 DAC streamer to the more affordable Google Chromecast with Google TV. Now, this is not a full-range loudspeaker, so of course it needs a subwoofer, and we relied on either the Rel T0 Mark III or the Yamo S810, all of which will be linked down below. Let's start by discussing what these speakers aren't, and that is a full-range loudspeaker. They have virtually no bass to speak of in pretty much any environment, save for maybe small rooms or at really low volumes. Anything apart from that, you're going to want to budget for a sub. But you don't need a big subwoofer for these loudspeakers. I quite liked them with the very compact Rel T0 Mark III. Now, the Rel did not make the Fluance full range, but the two blended together so beautifully that the bookshelf started to sound like modest towers, something the Reference Series is sorely lacking. The XL8F tower speakers are great, especially if you love bass, but they can quickly become overwhelming, both visually and sonically. In small to medium-sized rooms, their bass can just become overpowering. Couple that with the fact that you can't tune or turn down their included subwoofers, it leaves you with a speaker that's just not going to sound its best in a wide range of rooms. Conversely, the Fluance bookshelf loudspeakers lack enough bass on their own to satisfy a lot of music genres, never mind home theater, and this is where the T0 comes in, as I really feel it bridges the gap that is missing in the Reference Series line. The T0 has all of the speed and articulation necessary to keep up with the bookshelf's excellent detail retrieval without overwhelming it or coloring it with muddy bass. Sure, if you want more bass, you're going to have to step up to a beefier sub, but be careful not to trade ultimate bass extension and otherwise upset top to bottom coherence if you do. With the bass out of the way, let's talk about what the Fluances excel at, and that is detail, detail, detail. For speakers retailing for less than $200 a pair, the Fluances are an embarrassment of riches. Mildly lean on their own, but able to be brought closer to neutral with a sub, virtually everything I played through these speakers didn't just sound good, they sounded f***ing great. Look, let's be real for a second. The delta between high-end and entry-level components, especially with respect to loudspeakers, is shrinking by the minute. Sure, I'm not going to deny it. More money buys you better materials, better looking design, and more control at the extremes. But you have to understand, we are talking about extremes, which for the vast majority of people, they're never going to reach. They just never will, either because they have space or financial constraints, or they just don't care to. And because you don't care to doesn't mean you don't care about good sound. You may not require your speakers to be able to recreate a pipe organ at 120 dB without distortion. And if this sounds like you, then a loudspeaker like the XL8S might be a better fit. For weeks, I've enjoyed these small bookshelf loudspeakers, and never once did I think about changing them out for something else. Even when I stepped up our electronics to more high-end fare, these speakers just never felt like the weak link. If anything, each improvement in our associated equipment was met with an equal reaction from the speakers themselves, always positive. The good news is that they don't require high-end gear to sound their best, and they are as enjoyable through a budget Sony receiver as they are through a more expensive Yamaha S1200. It all comes down to the speaker's strengths, and the Fluance is capable of tremendous feats of detail. Backing vocals, subtle harmonies, even the trailing edges of notes themselves are just more pronounced through this speaker than through others, especially cheaper options. And this may come down to the tweeter having just a little bit more energy or top-end zip, but it's not a forward sound, especially if you pair the speaker with a subwoofer. So mildly lean, yes, but not forward. The Fluance's attention to detail carries over to its soundstage. The speaker not only disappears orally, but casts a wide and vast soundstage that frankly embarrasses, costlier competition. Though I will admit that the detail found within that soundstage is a little bit associated equipment dependent. For example, when paired with budget Sony electronics, I was treated to all of the width and depth that I could ask for, complete with good center imaging. It's just that the delineation within that soundstage was a little bit soft or blurry in direct comparison to what I heard through the Yamaha S1200, where every instrument, every performer stood in stark contrast to one another. The good news is that through either system, I never felt as if my enjoyment was diminished. One area where the Fluances aren't the best is dynamics. These are not explosive loudspeakers. They lack that lightning quick response that some music and movies require, but they do get close, and that makes them just a little more forgiving. But you do have to turn things up a bit to get these speakers to come to life, and this has to be the fault of their less than sensitive, rating at 85 dB, which isn't uncommon among more inexpensive loudspeakers, though admittedly I am still shocked every time I see a sensitivity rating like 85 dB. Still, no matter what I connected the bookshelf loudspeakers to, I was able to drive them to satisfying levels. It was just the volume that had to vary. But at moderate to everyday volumes, these speakers still manage to be engaging. Now, there is no shortage of cheap two-way bookshelf loudspeakers on the market right now. We have several in-house that I directly compared the Fluance to, starting with the Yamaha S803. Now, it could come down to a coin toss which of these two loudspeakers I preferred, as they are very evenly matched. The S803 to me is the better looking loudspeaker, though it is not a runaway victory, though the S803 does have that little bit of top end zip that does help with dynamics and music crescendos just hit with a little bit more authority. That said, the Fluance speaker has a little bit better upper mid-bass weight, especially around where it crosses over with the tweeter. Both loudspeakers need a subwoofer without question, as they both sound positively anemic without one. The Q Acoustics 3010i retail for a little bit more than the Fluance bookshelf loudspeakers, but I do consider the two to be comparable based on their driver complement and specs. Build-wise, the Qs are definitely putting that little extra money to good use, as the material and construction is just better. Sound-wise, the Qs are also a little bit more composed, a little bit more refined, and do have, well, they feel like they have more bass, which is surprising because their reported frequency response isn't as good as the Fluance. Now, this may come down to the fact that the Qs have a rear-facing port, which in my room just loads bass differently than the front-facing port found on the Fluance or Yamos. Either way, there was a notable difference between the Qs and the Fluance, and I just happen to prefer the Qs. And like the Fluance, I do think that the Q acoustic bookshelf speakers are better than their tower counterparts. I was hoping to compare the Fluance bookshelf speakers to Sony's ultra-cheap 3-way bookshelves, but my pair did not arrive in time for them to be included in this review. Needless to say, Sony is killing it on the value front, though I will admit that their build quality and design and construction just isn't what I would call class leading. Who knows, maybe they look better in person, so you're going to want to, well, definitely check back for that review. The XL8S are fantastic, and in my opinion, they are better than their larger tower brothers in every respect save for two: bass output and dynamics. But like I said earlier in this review, the tower speakers aren't going to be good for every person or room, and that makes the reference bookshelf loudspeakers the better all-rounder. The problem with the phrase all-rounder is that it implies a certain concession, and there just simply aren't any to be made here. Because the Fluance Reference Bookshelf loudspeakers are great. And not just good for the money great, but truly great. These speakers are going to end up being someone's entry point into this hobby, the same way the mini monitors from Paradigm were mine. Only that person is going to enjoy arguably better performance at a lower price than what I did back in the day. So that's it. That is my review of Fluance's XL8S Reference Series bookshelf loudspeaker. What did you guys think? Let me know down in the comments below. And while you're down there, my question of the day is this: what was your gateway into the hi-fi hobby? Let me know. Tell me a story. I want to read all about it. If you like this video, please do give it a thumbs up, like, and subscribe, and ring that bell so that you're notified when new videos come out. If you used any of the links that Christy left for you down below, know that that is a great way to show your support for this channel and the work that we do here, and both Christy and I thank all of you very much. Follow me on Instagram at Recovering Audiophile, and that's it. So, another review in the books. Remember, the only person that has to like the sound of your system is you. So happy listening. Thank you for watching, and remember, please, 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 please go and vote. I do not care about your political affiliations. I do not want to know about them down in the comments below. I am just asking you, please do your civic duty and vote. After that, we will see you on the next video. Bye. Come on, I was 2 words from being done and that would have worked.
You messed up the word fingerprints.
I did not.
You did.
Oh,
you did.
Come on.
You did. You were getting wordy.
I was not. Leave me alone.
You were.
I was not. It was perfect, and you know it. You felt it.
No.
All right, here we go.
Well, hold on.
No.
No, because you keep making the same mistakes.
I do not. I'm perfect.
You act like you had a serious relationship with these speakers. You need to take them out on a couple of more dates.
All right, still going. Good, right?
Yeah.
I know it got a little wordy in there for you, but I think it's going to work. I think it's going to play. You guys aren't going to mind. You're not even going to know because you can't see what I wrote. So we're moving on.